There were quite a few times I needed a bedliner-like paint, and one that not only has a grain texture but also is durable. The problem is that they are quite expensive and don't usually come in a small quantity and low price, so if you don't do extensive work, it doesn't actually worth it. We're gonna need three simple items, and the first one I have here is a non-dilutable ultra-sticky polyurethane primer that is meant for roof insulations and extreme weather applications, but just be aware that if you choose to use an automotive primer, it might not work actually at all, especially if it's diluted. Substances to this are any epoxy resin, but due to their pricing, I think those are out of the question. Second thing is fine sand, which is what we will stick to the object before paint. What I have here is fine desert sand, and you can use river sand or whatever as long as it doesn't contain salt. The third item is paint, and the ideal is a generic frame paint or a rubberized undercoat, but this one that I have here is just a nitro lacquer for showing the whole procedure. I originally had this idea for doing it on car mirrors, and I have a spare cover here. It's not for this specific vehicle, but I'm gonna try on this one and see how it goes. As for the object, we're gonna need to sand its surface using 80 to 100 grit sandpaper. Alright, this looks good enough, and I'm gonna put a piece of paper here, so for later to check its durability. So I've got primer on this cap, and we're gonna apply a generous coat of the primer evenly and start throwing the sand above it slowly so everything is covered. If you miss it the first time, there is almost no way to fix it as a second coat, as it's gonna be problematic. So the excess sand will fall on this workbench, but it doesn't matter. As you've done, covering the whole surface, see it just a little bit off, and if you've done it correctly, it will look like that. And as I wait for it to dry, I'm gonna clean my tools using lacquer thinner, and we'll see. Alright, this has dried overnight, and it's actually pretty hard, which if I try to scratch it actually sends my nail off. And now I'm gonna paint it. I'm gonna dilute the paint here, and I'm gonna paint it using a paint gun, and we'll see how this goes. So after the second coat, this looks amazing. As you can see here, these are the results. the result after the destructive testing. As you see here, the paint has been scratched off as well as some of the plastic of the surface, whereas this is almost intact. This is not actually the result that we are after, as like I said before, this is painted using a standard nitrocellulose lacquer, whereas it has to be painted using a high-strength paint like a car frame paint or something like that. So that's all I have for you in this video, and if you want to do your mirrors or some details on the interior of your car or something like that, this might be the idea for you. Thanks for watching, don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe.